you are, but mind your step. This is an important excavation that must not be disturbed.
Terribly sorry about that. And who might you be?
My name is Davis, not that you need to know, and I'm the site supervisor here.
Great, just the man I was looking for. I'm here to write up a report. I'd like to get some info on last week's incident involving the death of Professor Atkins.
What are you, detective then?
No, I'm an insurance investigator of sorts.
So you're an insurance bloke, eh? It was an accident, you know. Even the police who were here said as much. I have nothing further to add. Now, if you would please excuse me. Hey, you! What are you digging there for? We were told by Professor Powell that today we're supposed to excavate around the stone wall.
But I have a feeling we'll find something here.
You didn't hear me!
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I know exactly how it is with you. It's hard to get proper help these days.
Isn't it the truth? They're useless, every one of them.
I myself had an assistant working for me, but he ran off on me saying the job was too tough on him. And thanks to him, although I'm the boss, I've been forced to do the investigations all on my own. Huh?
Professor Powell, about the afternoon schedule.
Oh, all right then. I think it might be an awfully good idea if we discuss it over lunch.
Oi, new guy. You can continue digging there, but only during your lunch hour. And if you find something, you report it to me.
Sure. Thanks a lot.
The rest of you lot, take your break.
Hey, wait!
I knew it. Thought I might find you around here.
Mind telling me if a piece like that is actually worth something?
Huh? I think so. What we have here is a man's brooch.
Well, you don't come across a man's brooch that often.
It's from the 2nd century BC. The Celts actually used to live around this area, and back then the men wore mantles which were fastened together with these brooches.
Oh, so your group here has been excavating a Celtic site. I heard a few stories about our ancestors and how they were thought to be valiant warriors, but I didn't imagine they'd be fashionable fellows, too.
I guess you could say that. They also celebrated good harvests, had rituals to honor their children's birth, and enjoyed drinking wine and singing songs.
They had wine back then?
Yeah. Even in ancient times, wine had been brought to this area. You can find plenty of flagons around these ruins. And like you said, they were very fashionable people. It was traditional for women to weave mantles for the men. And then the women gave the brooches to the men as keepsakes. They were a sign of a woman's eternal love for a man.
Well, well, how romantic archaeology is. Who would have guessed that Celtic men could have more luck with women than I do?
Excuse me, but who are you?
You have the pleasure of addressing Daniel O'Connell. Unlike you, I'm in a more practical profession. I'm an insurance investigator.
Pleased to meet you, sir. My name is Keaton.
So, you wouldn't know anything pertinent concerning Professor Atkins and the accident that claimed his life last week, would you?
Oh. Well, I only got here yesterday to start work on the site, so what can I say except that I really can't be of any use to you?
Now, I gather you're a student from East Yorkshire University, isn't that right?
No, sir. I'm from Oxford. I'm just working here part-time.
Even if you're casual labor, you must know where Professor Stevens resides, correct?
Well, of course I do. He's in charge of this whole area.
Do you mind showing me where exactly?
But I'd lose valuable time since I'm only allowed to excavate this spot during lunch.
Thank you for your help. I was wondering what to do, since everyone went off to take their lunch break.
This is the clothing Atkins was wearing. I don't know how much more you need to know to finish up your report. He was one of my students and was very chummy with Professor Powell here.
Why are you fussing with the past when we've been through all this before? I mean, don't you have even the slightest appreciation of how this might be affecting us?
Terribly sorry for the intrusion, but unfortunately it is my job.
But surely the police have investigated the matter thoroughly and cleared it up. If I'm not mistaken, haven't they ruled that Professor Atkins' death was an accident?
Of course it was an accident. But even with a routine report, I still have to go through the motions and check facts.
Enough is enough. We're trying very hard to deal with the situation and get over his loss. Mr. Keaton, I rather think it's time for you to go now and return to your work.
Yes, sir. Pretty tough job, huh?
You don't know the half of it. Well, Keaton, while you're out here digging up the past, I'm living in the present trying to dig up a partner. Oh, yeah. Almost forgot. So, what do you make of this?
It's a chip from a flagon of wine. I can tell it hasn't been baked at a high temperature, and it does seem to contain a great deal of lime and soil. It's from around this site. Could be one of the excavated objects.
No use smelling it. That was lying in the river for an entire evening, if you know what I mean.
Then you're telling me this was...
Right. I was inspecting the evidence during the interview and retrieved that little beauty from Professor Atkins' front breast pocket. But I guess it's only natural for an archaeologist to have an excavated item. Shouldn't be all that surprised to find him with a chip on his person, eh?
That's not true. Archaeologists are meticulous about their findings and would never take anything for themselves.
Well, then how did it get in his clothing in the first place?
I know this sounds crazy, but what if someone attacked him? If he were struck with an object that shattered, wouldn't it be possible for a piece to fly into his pocket by accident?
Oh, do you think so? Really? According to the details in the police report, Professor Atkins had a few abrasions, along with a nasty wound to the forehead. They think it was caused when he fell into the river and hit his head on a rock. But now there's a possibility he might have received the blow to the head before being thrown into the water.
That can't be.
On the contrary, one romantic man and one practical man obviously came to the same conclusion. This report I'm writing up may not be so routine after all. You don't say. Now, you're absolutely sure that before the accident you overheard Professor Atkins quarreling with that Supervisor Davis?
Ah, yes. But if you wouldn't mind, please don't tell Mr. Davis that I was the one that said so.
Not a problem.
Coming around again? We don't have anything more to talk about.
I'm sorry for disturbing you again, Professor Powell. However, I have only one more thing to ask. I'd simply like to know if you believe Professor Atkins was disliked by Davis, the excavation supervisor.
I don't know.
That's rather odd, because I'd heard they had been quarreling with each other, and the argument happened the day before Atkins was found.
You don't suspect Davis of being involved in any misconduct, do you? I'm telling you, it was an accident.
Yes, but...
They were only arguing with each other because Professor Atkins was in charge of the financial side of the excavation. He and Davis disagreed over the adequacy of the workers' wages, and that's all it was. Excavating requires teamwork. I don't want pushy people like you sniffing around here where you're not wanted and messing it up.
What is it? Why'd you ask me to come here?
It's been determined that Professor Atkins fell into the river from this particular spot. But I'm thinking maybe he didn't slip, but perhaps was tossed in.
What's this you're going on about? Are you suggesting I murdered him?
You weren't content with Professor Atkins' offer concerning the workers' wages, and it made for a very heated debate, right?
I get it. What you mean is that I'm a suspect in this case.
Oh, no, forget it, pal. That wasn't what I was getting at. I've only come out here to write up a report, remember?
Yeah, actually, what you heard is true. We did have a bit of a row that day. But afterward, we had a little wine and talked it over, and there were no ill feelings between us. And then I went down below into town and drank by myself until dawn, so I don't have anything to hide. Check it out for yourself, if you're suspicious.
I gotta say, you look pretty tired.
Yeah, I went down there to town and checked out Davis's alibi. But I really can't be sure whether or not he was involved. There's no concrete evidence pointing directly to him, so it's a lost cause. I can't waste my time here. I've got work piling up and no assistant. This has definitely been a bad day.
Care for a bit? Think it'll take the edge off.
Ah, sounds good to me. Whoa, that's something. Huh? Beautiful night, stars and all. It looks much different here than in London.
We're gazing up at the stars from the same place that the ancient people saw them. Just knowing that makes you feel closer to those people somehow.
There you go again. Pardon my ignorance, but didn't the stars in their sky look different from the ones we're seeing now?
No, the stars are billions of light years away. Their light has reached the Earth since the beginning. Think about it. 2,500 years is only a brief flash in time.
So we've only been here for a brief flash in time, huh? That's amazing when you look at it on that kind of scale. And here I am investigating the death of someone that happened just a week ago. It makes me feel rather insignificant in comparison. You're such a fortunate young fellow. You can just sit back and think about what you enjoy doing best, archaeology.
But even though the field is my passion, there aren't many openings for archaeologists at the university. After I've finished helping the people here at this site, I'll have to go and look for another job.
Oh, well, life seems to work that way, huh? Looks like my investigation has come to an end. This chip was the only thing I had to go on, but I don't think it has any significant meaning.
Daniel, wait a second.
Huh?
I'd take one last look at that. It just occurred to me I may have detected the faint scent of wine when I sniffed it.
You're having me on. You can't seriously be suggesting you smelled wine that's 2,500 years old. See, I gave it a whiff and didn't smell anything.
Yes, there's still a trace of it, though you can barely make it out.
You've proven beyond all doubt that you're a hopeless romantic. Huh?
No. I'm trying to tell you the wine is fresh.
Huh? Hang on. Wait just a second. Let me mull this over. Come to think of it, Davis was with Atkins on the previous day. He said they'd drunk wine together. You wouldn't happen to know anything about this chip, would you? Interestingly, it was discovered inside the breast pocket of the shirt belonging to Professor Atkins.
Well, it appears to have come from this area, but
Who's authorized to remove excavated objects from this site?
that would include Professor Stevens and ourselves, of course. By that, I mean myself as well as the late Professor Atkins. Not to mention...
Yes, who?
I was about to say the Supervisor Davis.
Well, is that right?
Oh, wow, Professor Powell. These are exquisite samples of ancient pottery. It's your private collection?
Why, yes. Let's have tea with the china from the 17th century Qing dynasty. It's quite something to sift from ancient drinking vessels.
Well, that's quite nice of you.
I'll go and put the kettle on then.
Look at that, an ancient emery piece. This plate has a seashell. It was probably pulled up from a sunken ship along the Silk Sea route. Huh?
Well, thanks for all your help, Tai Chi. I guess we can now proclaim with absolute certainty that Davis is the culprit.
Not so fast, Daniel. You can smell wine on this chipped piece of earthenware.
Huh?
It was behind that porcelain plate.
What are you getting at?
Let's see the other one and compare the two.
Right.
They're a perfect match.
Hmm?
They both came from the same piece.
But that's odd. Why do you think it would end up here, then?
Huh.
Oh.
I assure you it was an accident. Yes, it was not deliberate. That evening, I had invited Stuart to stop by my place and share a couple of drinks. I was keeping the wine in a flagon I had excavated.
Well now, what's all this about?
I just wanted to celebrate the success of this excavation.
Cheers.
Listen, Stuart. There's something that I want to talk to you about.
Yes, there's no need to tell me. So far, the findings of this dig have proven that my thesis is indeed correct. Yes, the world will know soon enough. At last, I can show that the Hallstatt culture had influenced Celtic civilization on the mainland earlier than previously thought.
Yes.
My dissertation will receive the award at the fall conference. Then I'll follow in the footsteps of Professor Stevens and become a professor myself. Finally, I'll propose marriage to this lovely young woman, Professor Stevens' daughter, Dolly. I know she'll accept when I do. Huh? What? Is something bothering you? What is it? Dolly's accepting your marriage proposal? How is that possible? What's going on, man?
I know how you must feel, but it's true. I invited you here so that I could break the news to you gently.
How could you do this to me? While I'm busy with all of this research, you go behind my back!
You must understand, Stuart.
I see. You can't beat me on the academic playing field. That's why you're so anxious to get married to Dolly, so you can become Professor Stevens' successor.
No, that's preposterous. I only wanted to...
You can't have everything go your way!
Stop! Let me go! Seriously, you've got it all wrong.
Give it a rest. This is what happens to those who betray a lifelong friendship.
I only wanted to tell Stuart so we could celebrate my engagement to Dolly. That's the only reason I invited him in and had the wine sitting ready in the pitcher. That was all.
It was self-defense. If you turn yourself in now, you'll likely receive some type of clemency.
But even so, I'd have to give up my position at the university as well as my marriage to Dolly.
Oh, listen to me for a moment, please.
Daniel, no sudden moves. If you hadn't come here and mucked about, it would have been deemed an accident. Why couldn't you just leave well enough alone?
Are you really prepared to use that on us?
Yes, of course I am.
But you know you can't shoot it like that.
What? What are you trying to tell me?
You can't pull the trigger with the safety still on.
An accident. It was just an accident.
You mean you served some time in the army?
Yeah, I guess you could say that.
Who on earth are you, anyway?
Well, for starters, I'm someone who's unemployed.
Yeah, I guess they're gonna have to postpone the excavation. What'll you do now, Keaton?
For starters, go look for a new job.
Right. Wait, I've got a terrific job. It would suit you perfectly.
Huh?
In archaeology, you dig things up, and from there you make use of your imagination. You know how to figure out what the ancient people did and how they behaved, right?
I guess.
This job I'm talking about requires imagination of that sort. Yeah, that's the job you should be doing. Oh, it'll be fine. The job isn't all that difficult, you know. Besides, you can do it between your archaeological studies. I know you'll like it. It's easy, I promise.
Well...
Wow, that was 10 years ago, huh? The years do fly by, don't they? Could be just like you said when we met. Perhaps 2,500 years is just a brief flash in time after all. Go on, Donald, come on.
Where are we headed to, Daniel?
Where, indeed? We're out to celebrate our 10-year partnership.
Who was it that promised this job was... easy?
So 自分を切り裂くことはないよ。あなたはまあまあため息こぼす僕に何も言えない君、ほとんど泣いて目を見つめて坂道登ることに迷いなど感じない。時が過ぎる限り僕らは強くなる。
No sooner than Keaton arrives at an excavation in the desert than he faces resistance by the locals. Harsh punishment awaits the research team as they are left to survive the freezing cold nights and grueling hot days. Legend tells of Kaliman, who lived in the desert for years, but the team may waste away in just a few hours. Next time, Kaliman of the Desert.